Imagine this, a mid-sized adventure bike with Italian styling, Chinese manufacturing, and a name that might make or break its chances in America. Moto Morini first called it the Alltrhike, a mashup of all-terrain and hike. But let's be honest, that name doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. For the US, they're preparing something more marketable. The Vettore, Italian for vector. A better name, sure. But is the bike itself strong enough to compete in a crowded US market? Here's what we know. The Vettore is powered by a 449cc parallel twin engine, producing 44.8 horsepower at 8,500 RPM and 31 pound-feet of torque at 6,500 RPM. On paper, those numbers put it neck and neck with the CFMOTO Ibex 450, which makes about 44 horsepower and 32.5 pound-feet of torque. But the Ibex is lighter at 386 pounds dry, while the Vettore tips the scales at a claimed 419 pounds. That's a noticeable gap when you're picking up the bike on a trail. Price is still a mystery. In the US, the Ibex starts at $64.99. The new Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 comes in at $57.99. And the KTM 390 Adventure R lands at $6,999. So the question is simple. Will Moto Morini price the Vettore competitively, or will it get lost in the shuffle? Suspension and wheels suggest they're aiming for serious off-road credibility. You get a fully adjustable Kayaba 41mm fork with 8.2 inches of travel, paired with a rear shock offering 7.5 inches. Add in a 21-inch front and 18-inch rear spoke setup, plus a dual-channel ABS system that can be switched off for dirt. And suddenly the bike looks more rugged than the Himalayan and just as adventure-focused as the KTM. And here's where I want your opinion. Would you take a chance on a lesser-known brand in the US if it offered better suspension and off-road geometry than the competition? Drop your thoughts below, because this is where the debate really starts. If you enjoy straight-up, honest analysis of motorcycles that could shake up the American market, make sure you hit subscribe, because there's a lot more coming. Now let's break down how the Vettore stacks up against its closest rivals on American roads and trails. First, suspension. The Vettore comes standard with fully adjustable Kayaba components, something you don't always see in this price range. The fork gives you 8.2 inches of travel, while the rear shock offers 7.5 inches. Compare that to the KTM 390 Adventure R, which stretches a bit further with about 9 inches of travel at both ends, but the KTM also runs on a single-cylinder engine that vibrates more on the highway. The Vettore's parallel twin should deliver smoother performance for long-distance riding. Next, braking power. Moto Morini fitted a 320mm front disc with a 4-piston caliper and a 205mm rear disc with a 2-piston caliper. That's stronger hardware than the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, which uses simpler 2-piston front brakes. And since the Vettore's ABS can be deactivated for dirt, it gives riders the freedom to slide the rear wheel when the trail demands it, just like on the KTM. Weight and seat height are another factor buyers will care about. At a claimed 419 pounds dry and a 33.1-inch seat height, the Vettore feels taller and heavier than the Himalayan's more beginner-friendly setup. The Ibex 450 undercuts it on weight at just 386 pounds dry, and also offers a slightly lower seat at 32.3 inches. For new riders or shorter inseams, that makes the Ibex and Himalayan easier to live with. But if you're chasing rugged presence and a taller stance, the Vettore puts itself closer to the KTM 390 Adventure R, which also sits above 34 inches in seat height. And then there's value. Think about it. If the Vettore launches in the US at around $6,999, it's stepping right into KTM territory, where brand loyalty and dealer support are strong. But if it sneaks in closer to the $6,299 to $6,199 range, it suddenly undercuts KTM while offering suspension that rivals or beats it. That's exactly why this launch matters. Pricing will decide whether the Vettore is a genuine contender or just an interesting side note. So let me ask you this. Would you pay a few $100s more for a KTM badge and proven dealer network? Or would you gamble on Moto Morini for the better spec sheet and smoother twin-cylinder ride? So where does this leave us? The Moto Morini Vettore has a lot going for it. On paper, you get a 449cc parallel twin with 44.8 horsepower and 31 pound-feet of torque, a fully adjustable Kayaba suspension package, and proper adventure-ready geometry with a 21-inch front and 18-inch rear. Add features like a TFT display with built-in navigation, USB and USB-C ports, and even heated grips and seat on the higher-spec version. And suddenly this doesn't feel like a budget bike at all. But there are real concerns. At a dry weight of 419 pounds, it's heavier than both the CFMOTO Ibex 450 at 386 pounds and the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, which keeps things simpler and more approachable. And while the Vettore might look great on a spec sheet, Moto Morini still doesn't have the dealer presence or brand recognition in the US that KTM, Royal Enfield, and even CFMOTO are steadily building. Owning one may mean taking a chance on parts availability and service support. Here's the bottom line. If Moto Morini can price the Vettore somewhere between $6,299 and $6,699, it suddenly becomes a very tempting alternative to the KTM 390 Adventure R, especially for riders who want a smoother twin-cylinder engine for highway miles. If the price creeps up towards $7,000 or more, then KTM's reputation and dealer network will make it harder for the Vettore to stand out. So the real question is, would you put your money on the Himalayan for affordability, the Ibex for best bang for the buck, the KTM for proven performance, or would you take a leap of faith on the Vettore, betting that Moto Morini can deliver both quality and value? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this debate isn't just about one new bike, it's about whether smaller brands can really disrupt a market dominated by big names. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe. More honest reviews and comparisons are on the way, and you won't want to miss them.